My name is Rita, and this is my first attempt at making a YouTube video about baking brownies. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to make brownies from scratch. I first have to say that this is not my recipe. It belongs to the Fry's cocoa can. Now, the recipe calls for 1 1/3 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of Fry's cocoa, 2 cups of sugar, 4 eggs, 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla, and 1 cup of chopped nuts. Now, nuts are optional. Now, the first thing you do when baking anything is to read the instructions and measure out all the ingredients. I have, a majority of the ingredients already done. This is the 1 cup of cocoa, 4 eggs, 2 cups of sugar, my vanilla extract, and instead of using chopped nuts, I am using chocolate chips. Now, I'm also making this a gluten-free recipe, and if you want them, you can message me and I'll write down my other pieces. So I have everything else that I need to measure, except the flour. Now, the reason why I left the flour until later is because I want to show you how to properly measure flour. So, I know that a majority of people, when they measure flour, they go like this. They take the scoop and they go, and they come out with, and they shake the sides, and that's a cup. Well, really, it isn't, because a lot of recipes ask for sifted flour. And what that means, you can either shake it in there to allow for some air movement, or you can actually take a sifter and go all the way through with it. And then you take your thing across like that, and you get a level cup of flour. And you have an actual cup there. So I need a cup and 1/3 of flour. Alright, now that we've got that done, you can also use the back side of a knife. As long as it's a straight edge, it's not a problem. Alright, so I've measured my flour, and it says, put in your baking powder and salt. Well, in my family, we don't use a lot of salt, so instead of half of a teaspoon, I'm just putting in a pinch. It says a teaspoon of baking powder. My baking powder, you can make baking powder from scratch. And if anyone's interested, I'll teach you eventually. There we go, there's my teaspoon. And because this is a gluten-free recipe, and I'm using non-traditional wheat flour, I also have to add in some xanthan gum. Now, you take all of your dry ingredients, and you see how the mixture is all kind of on the top? You have to mix your mixture in order to make it uniform throughout. This is so you don't have all of the salt in one brownie, because I've had that before and it doesn't taste very good. Alright, so that's the salt. The next thing you do after you read the ingredients is you read the instructions. You measure everything out, and then you read the instructions again. I cannot stress enough how this is. Alright, so you stir together flour, baking powder, and salt in a small bowl. Melt butter in a large saucepan, which is what I have already done. That's butter, and I melted it in a small saucepan. Okay, well, I put it in a big one, just because I don't like to do a whole lot of different work. And I have my oven set to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. This allows for your oven to be preheated for when you go to bake. Okay, so now that I have everything, you read the instructions. So you melt butter in a small saucepan. Remove from heat. All right, after the butter comes the cocoa. And then it says to blend in the sugar, the eggs, and the vanilla. After that, you're supposed to blend the dry ingredients and the nuts. But as I said, I'm using chocolate chips. So here we go. We're going to add the cocoa. A pretty cool measuring cup, hey? So what you need to do is you need to stir your cocoa into a nice even mixture so you have nothing dry. Do 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 do. All right, so now it's all mixed, all nice and great. Okay, now it says to blend in sugar, eggs, and vanilla. So let's put in our eggs. Break the yolks. Give her a stir. And now for the vanilla. This is a teaspoon and a half, so I'll just put in a teaspoon. Uh-oh, I just dropped my chocolate chips. That's okay. So I just put in the sugar. I'm going to stir it. So now that we have mixed in our sugar and eggs and vanilla, we are now going to add our dry ingredients a little bit at a time, and we're going to mix them as well. And I will return shortly to add the chocolate chips. Alright, so now I'm going to add about half of my chocolate chips. Sorry, I'm experiencing some technical difficulties right now. Okay, here we go. So what you're doing is you're kind of folding the mixture because it is now very thick. Let's add some more flour. That's the rest of it, really. And you just want to keep folding it until it's all mixed together. And I'll add some more chocolate chips. It's the other half of the cup. Alright, our mixture is now completely mixed. Oh, not at the bottom there. You've got to scrape that up too. Alright, so I forgot to mention that I'm using a non-stick Teflon pan. You can use pretty much anything and it will work. But it doesn't stick like a Teflon pan does. And that's what I'm going for, is to have it not stick. Alright, so I am going to try out my new baking pan. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my brownie mixture. About half full. Now the recipe does say this is pour batter, which is what this is, into a greased 13 by 9 by 2 inch pan. And you see the pan over there? That's how big it is. However, because I wish to use my fancy pan, I'm going to put some into this one, some into that one, and they'll bake just a little bit faster. And it will all be delicious. So I will be right back after these important messages that you aren't even going to hear. Okay, so that obviously didn't fit a whole pan, so I'm attempting to use a half of a pan. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to put them in to my oven and see where it will go from there. There we go. That one at the bottom, and we'll put this one at the top. And we will see how they bake in 10 to 15 minutes. Thank you very much. We will see you shortly. Okay, how do you know if your cake is done? You get a cake tester, or in this case, toothpick. Well, not necessarily this case. And if you put it in and it comes out done, it is done. Okay, it comes out dry. If there's no cake that sticks to the sides of it, it's finished and it's ready to come out. Oh wait, let's get this out of the oven. All right. So, we have here our finished brownies. And the brownie that I'm going to eat, because I just love brownies. I won't eat it all at one sitting, obviously. But there you have it. The end of the cooking show. We will probably see you again soon. And I will show you how to frost them. Thank you for watching and have a great day.